Are you ready for today's lesson?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to start today's lesson with something fun, and that is by playing a game. Have you ever played Kahoot?
No.
Okay, so what you have to do now is please take out your phones, because we're going to use your handphones to play, and go to kahoot.it. Okay, on your browser. And then here, I've already set the game code. So after you enter the website, you input the game code. Have you all input the game code?
Yes.
What about you, Emily? Okay, I see that everyone is already in. Okay, so what we're going to play today is called Guess the Story. So on the screen later, there will be a line which is said by a character in a famous story. And what you have to do is guess from what story does the line come from. Understand?
Yes.
Okay. Can we start playing now?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, since everyone has entered the game room, let's begin now. Okay, first question. You only have 10 seconds to answer each question, so think carefully but quickly. Wow, it looks like both of you got it right. Okay, let's see the scoreboard. Wow, it looks like Emily's in the lead. Okay, next question. Oh wow, both of you are fast. Okay, so Chelsea has taken the lead. Now, next question. Wow, both got it right again. Remember, the score depends on how quick you answer the question too. So smart. Chelsea's still in the lead. Will Emily ever surpass? This is a classic one. Oh, okay. Chelsea has a streak with 5 correct answers in a row. Well done. Short but meaningful. Yes. Wow. Okay. Chelsea still at the top. What is this? Who got it right? Oh, so you haven't read the story, Chelsea? I see. Yes, nice. 2 questions left. Little Red Riding Hood. Yes, this one is very popular. Okay, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's there? Wow, okay. What was this option? Sleeping Beauty. Ah, we both have evil. And food in the sea. So this one is actually from the Legend of Surabaya, where Sura and Baya made a pact that Sura will look for food in the sea, and Baya will look for food in the land, but someone broke that, and then they got into a fight. Yay, Chelsea! Congratulations! You won! Okay! Alright, everyone. Now, game time is over. Did you enjoy the game?
Yes.
Why not? Is it because you lost? That's okay. It's just a game, okay? Alright, now please put your phones back.
Competitive.
Yes, that's okay. That's actually a good spirit, but it's okay to lose sometimes, okay? Alright, now, can you please mention some stories in the game? Do you still remember any of them? Yes, Emily can go first.
Timon Mas.
Yes, Timon Mas. Chelsea, what about you?
Little Red Riding Hood.
Okay, now those are all types of narrative stories. Okay, so that's what we'll be learning about today. Narrative text. Alright, let me explain it to you further. Alright, so what is a narrative text? Well, a narrative text is a piece of story that is used to entertain the reader or the listener. And because of that, the purpose itself is to entertain or amuse readers or listeners. Entertain and amuse here means the same thing. Okay? Now, a narrative text has a generic structure. So, in the first paragraph, we would usually have the orientation. The orientation here is used to convey the characters that are in the story. So, in an orientation, we would know who are the characters involved, and for example, maybe the place where the story takes place, or maybe when it takes place, something like that, to introduce us to the story. Now next, we have complication. In complication, the characters of the story will get into a conflict, okay? And then in resolution, which is the next structure, the characters settle the conflict by finding a solution to the problem. So in complication, they fight, but in resolution, they made up. They found a solution. And then next, we also have coda or reorientation. This is the part where the writer would usually convey the moral lesson of the story. However, this part is optional. That means you don't have to involve it in a narrative text. If you put it in the narrative text, that means the moral lesson of the story is explicitly stated. That means the readers will immediately know, oh, so the moral lesson is this, because that's what the writer writes. Next, in a narrative text, there are these language features. So in a narrative text, first, we usually use past tense to write it. Past tense, for example, I went to the forest. Cinderella went to the ball. Went here is a form of simple past. Okay? And then next, there are also adverbs of time. Adverbs of time means phrases or words that indicates when the story takes place. For example, I know you have read a lot of fairy tales and stories that begins with once upon a time. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes, that's an example of an adverb of time. There are also time conjunctions. The difference is the time conjunctions usually shows a transition or a change in what the character does, or a change in a certain action. So for example, I was in the middle of taking a bath when suddenly, when suddenly is a form of time conjunction, because it shows that something else is about to happen. Okay? And then there are also specific characters, for example, Cinderella, Snow White, so they usually have specific names. And then there are also action verbs, which are verbs that shows that we are doing something. For example, walked, killed, or like the one I have stated, went. It shows that we are doing the action. And then they also use direct speeches. I believe you have all remembered that in a lot of stories, the characters usually use direct speeches. For example, Cinderella said, I want to meet my prince. And that direct speech we usually put in these signs right here. Okay. Is there any questions before we move on?
No.
Okay, so last, here are kinds of narrative text. There are 5 kinds. First, there are fables. Fables are stories involving animals. For example, here, the tortoise and the hare, a really popular story. Next, there are also folk tales. Now, folk tales here is usually a story from a certain culture or a certain area, and is spread from mouth to mouth. For example, Ismail Kundang. And then there are also fairy tales. Fairy tales are usually stories suited for children, and they usually involve a lot of magical elements, like for example, Little Red Riding Hood. And then there are also legends. Legends are traditional stories which are usually considered historical. And then this one is an example of a legend, which is Tangkuban Perahu. The last one, there's a myth. Now, myths are a bit similar with legend, but the difference is that myths usually involve more supernatural beings, and they usually tell about the history of a phenomenon, a place, or people. An example of a myth here is Chocotaro. Okay, do you have any more questions regarding narrative text? Or perhaps there are some things that you are still confused about? Okay, now next, we are going to read a narrative text. So I have prepared a narrative text for you to read, and it's a fable actually, because there are animals involved in it. Alright, now for the first until the third paragraph, I would like Emily to read it. Emily, can you please read it?
The Owl and the Grasshopper. The owl always takes her sleep during the day. Then, after sundown, when the rosy light fades from the sky and the shadows rise slowly through the wood, out she comes ruffling and blinking from the old hollow tree. Now her weird hoo, hoo, hoo echoes through the quiet woods, and she begins her hunt for the bugs and beetles, frogs and mice she likes so well to eat. Now there was a certain old owl who had become very cross and hard to please as she grew older, especially if anything disturbed her daily slumbers. One warm summer afternoon, as she dozed away in her den in the old oak tree, a grasshopper nearby began a joyous but very raspy song. Out popped the old owl's head from the opening in that tree that served her both for door and for windows. "Get away from here, sir," she said to the grasshopper. "Have you no manners? You should at least respect my age and leave me to sleep in quiet."
Okay, thank you, Emily. Now, Chelsea, please continue until the last paragraph.
But the grasshopper answered saucily that he had as much right to his place in the sun as the owl had her place in the old oak. Then he struck up a louder and still more rasping tune. The wise old owl knew quite well that it would do no good to argue with the grasshopper, nor with anybody else for that matter. Besides, her eyes were not sharp enough by day to permit her to punish the grasshopper as he deserved. So she laid aside all hard words and spoke very kindly to him. "Well, sir," she said, "if I must stay awake, I am going to settle right down to enjoy your singing. Now that I think of it, I have a wonderful wine here, sent me from Olympus, of which I am told Apollo drinks before he sings to the high gods. Please come up and taste this delicious drinks with me. I know it will make you sing like Apollo himself." The foolish grasshopper was taken in by the owl's flattering words. Up he jumped to the owl's den, but as soon as he was near enough so the owl could see him clearly, she pounced him and ate him up.
Okay, good job, everyone. You have read it very well. Okay, now behind the paper, can you please read that? There are questions for you to answer that is related to the story that you have read. Okay, I will give you 5 minutes, and then after that, we'll discuss the answers, okay? Emily, do you have any problems?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to ask something?
Number 3.
What about it?
What is complaint?
Well, complaint is something that you say when you're not satisfied with something. For example, if you go to McDonald's and then you order the chicken nuggets, okay? But the waiter doesn't deliver the chicken nuggets to you, even though you've been waiting for hours, for example. And then you would give a complaint to the waiter or waitress because you're not satisfied that you're not getting your order. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so can you do the rest of the questions?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Chelsea? Do you have any problems?
No.
Okay, are you finished yet?
Almost.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, just to remind everyone, you only have 1 minute left, and after that, let's discuss the answers, okay?
Okay.
So the time's up, and I'm sure you have all finished, so let's discuss the answers. Let's start with number 1. Don't forget to answer in a full sentence, okay? Who are the characters in the story?
The The characters in the story are the owl and the grasshopper.
Okay, nice. Second question. How did the owl feel about the grasshopper singing?
The owl felt annoyed and disturbed.
Yes, exactly. And how can you tell? What did the owl say to the grasshopper that shows that she is annoyed?
Get away from here, sir. Have you no manners? You should at least respect my age and leave me to sleep in quiet.
Okay, correct. So she said that because she doesn't want the grasshopper to be there because she's annoyed. Okay, next. How did the grasshopper react to the owl's complaint?
The grasshopper reacted by singing louder.
Yes, singing louder. So instead of saying, I'm sorry, he sang louder and even raspier. Next. Why did the owl tell the grasshopper to come up and taste this delicious drink with me?
The owl said that to trick the grasshopper so he would come near the owl.
Yes, so she wanted to trick the grasshopper. And is there actually any wine?
No.
Yes, correct. So she just wanted the grasshopper to come near her, and that is her way of doing that. And then last, what happened to the grasshopper in the end?
In the end, the grasshopper was eaten by the owl.
Yes, correct. So he came closer, and then the owl ate the grasshopper. Okay, you have all answered the questions very nicely. All right, now I would like you to look back at the text, the story, and find words that is used to describe the character. So for example, words that describes or tells what kind of an animal the owl is, or what kind of an animal the grasshopper is. Can you find any? Yes, Chelsea?
The foolish grasshopper.
Okay, nice. So what words describe who?
The word foolish describes the grasshopper.
Nice. Emily, did you find any words?
Yes.
Yes, what is it?
The wise old owl.
Yes, so what words describe who?
The owl.
What words describe who?
Wise
Mm-hmm.
describes the owl.
Yes, wise and old describes the owl. So, three of those words are words that are usually used to describe a person, or in this story, the animals, the characters in the story, and in real life, they're usually called personalities. Does that sound familiar to you? For example, when your friend said, you're such a smart person, or maybe she's very smart, or she's very diligent. So smart, diligent here are words that you can use to describe people. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, now let's look back at that sentence, the foolish grasshopper, okay? The foolish grasshopper was taken in by the owl's flattering words. Now if you see here, the word foolish, which describes the grasshopper, is put before the character that you are trying to describe. Foolish grasshopper. Okay, so that is one way you can use these words in a sentence. Another way is like this. The grasshopper was a foolish animal. Okay, so the word foolish here is, instead of being put before the person you're trying to describe, it is put after. The grasshopper was a foolish animal, just like what I have said earlier. She is a very smart girl. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so don't forget, so pay attention once again to both of these. The foolish grasshopper, the word that you're trying to use to describe the person is put before the person. While in here, the grasshopper was a foolish animal. It is put after the person. Okay? Alright. Now here are more words you can use to describe people. Now I would like each of you to pick one word and describe someone or maybe a character with the word. After you're ready, yes, Chelsea?
Mary was a brave little girl.
Okay, nice. Alright. Now Emily?
My friends are very generous.
Yes, good. You have all made good examples. Can you make an example with the other way of using the word? I will display it again. Use this one. The foolish grasshopper. Can you make a word with the same, can you make a sentence with the same word? Brave and generous. Yes, Chelsea?
The brave knight was going to slay the dragon.
Oh, that's a very nice sentence. What about you, Emily?
My mom was a generous person.
Okay, that's a nice sentence, but it still uses this pattern. For this one, the foolish grasshopper, you have to use generous before the person. Okay, if you're having troubles, that's okay. Let me make an example for you. Okay, for example, the generous girl was a lovely friend of mine. The generous girl was a lovely friend of mine. Okay, so that is how you use it before the person. Do you understand? Okay, that's okay. It's okay if you still need time making sentences, okay? Now, among these words, do you have any that you don't quite know the meaning of? You can raise your hand. Yes, Chelsea?
Outgoing.
Outgoing means you like socializing with people. You're sociable, in other words. And you like interacting with people, going to crowded places, like that. Anything else?
No.
No? Okay. Then I will distribute an exercise for you. So in this exercise, you have to fill in the blanks with words that are used to describe characters. Again, you will have 5 minutes to complete this. Okay, and after that, like usual, we will discuss it together. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, have you all finished?
Yes.
Alright, now let's discuss the answers, okay? For the first question until the 5th one, Chelsea, you can answer it. And for the 6th until the 10th, Emily, you answer it, okay? So first one, Chelsea, please.
1. Susan is the most friendly person I've ever met. She's always smiling and telling jokes.
Emily, do you have a different answer for number 1?
Cheerful.
Okay, so the correct answer is cheerful. So if you're cheerful, that means you're always smiling and telling jokes. It could also be a sign of friendliness, but the more correct one is cheerful, okay? Because friendly will be used for another question, okay? Second one,
Amy is very polite. She always says please and thank you.
yes, correct. That is polite. Number 3,
Don't say unkind things to her. She's a sensitive person.
yes, sensitive means you easily cry or you easily get angry. That's why the question here is don't say unkind things to her. She's sensitive. She might cry. What about number 4?
Patrick is very clever. He always does well in tests.
Okay. Do you know another word for clever? What does clever have the same meaning with? A word that has the same meaning with clever. Do you know one? No. Okay, clever has the same meaning as smart. So clever and smart means the same thing. What about number 5?
If your homework is difficult, you can ask Helen. She is helpful and will explain it to you.
Okay, so helpful here means you like helping people and you always do it kindly. Like Emily, next one.
If you enjoy talking to others, that means you are a talkative person.
Correct, talkative. What about the next one?
My cousin Martha often tells me what to do. She's a bit bossy.
Yes, bossy. What about the next one?
Susan is a friendly person because she always approaches people in a kind way.
Okay, now this one is where the friendly is used. Question number 8. Friendly because she approaches people in a kind way. So friendly is more to how you act around people, while cheerful is how you bring yourself in the environment. So for example, you're cheerful, but if you're friendly, it goes towards more how you are with other people. Okay? Next one.
My English teacher is very patient with me. She never gets angry even though I ask her a lot of questions.
Yes, correct. The last one.
A shy person is someone who is usually nervous and a bit uncomfortable around other people.
Okay, that is correct. Okay, nice job everyone. Do you have any more questions regarding this exercise, or are there any words that you don't know or don't really understand?
No.
Emily, what about you?
No.
Okay, great. All right, great job, everyone. You have all done well today. And for our assignment next week, I would like you to write down the intrinsic features of a narrative story of your choice. So you choose a narrative story. It can be a fable, legend, or myth, like the ones I have previously explained to you. And then you should write the intrinsic features of it. I believe you have learned this in junior high.
Yes.
Correct? So you all know how to write intrinsic features, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And you can use the words that we have learned today to describe the characteristics of the people in the story. Okay? All right. Any more questions, perhaps?
No.
Okay, then. Well, next week we will continue our discussion about narrative text. And don't forget the assignment, okay? All right. So that's it for today. Thank you all so much, and see you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.
날 네 맘에 씌워줘